Yes.
Pretty much more than any other visit, this is about the long term. This is about the fundamentals of the relationship between our peoples, our countries. It's not about what's going on today or tomorrow or the short term. And I think that's clear because the setting is the celebration of the 250th anniversary of American independence. It goes in a history of visits connected with that, going back to, in my lifetime, the Queen's visit in 1976, the 200th anniversary. And I think it makes sense for the King to be in the United States in this important year in the history of America and in the UK's relationship with it. The programme itself tells you what the objectives are. They are to project a view about British values and our interests in the world, the idea of the UK as a global power allied with America in many, many areas, the importance we attach to alliances, which I think is shared by many Americans, even though our alliance in NATO with America is under strain because of President Trump. I think a lot of those will find an echo with Americans, as well as getting a sense of the depth and breadth of life in the UK.
These calls for cancellation are very short-sighted and don't actually take into account the damage that would be caused by cancelling. People say, oh, well, there's a risk that the King will be embarrassed. I don't think it'll happen personally. I went to interview President Trump for my book 3.5 months ago. We talked at length about the monarchy. He is a huge royalist. He has one set of, if you like, one mindset when it comes to the British government, but the British monarchy is a completely separate element, and he's a huge fan of it. He adored the late Queen. He's a big fan of the King. For him, this is a big moment. It'll be much more about focusing on shared values, shared sacrifices, common links, that sort of thing. But in the margins, in private, I think there will be some sort of gentle nudging by the King, particularly with regards to the armed forces, because he is head of the armed forces. Donald Trump has had things to say about that. I thought it was very telling earlier this year when the president had a go at NATO troops in Afghanistan and said they've been staying a little back from the front line. It's no coincidence that a couple of days later he suddenly rode back on that statement with regard to Britain and talked about our great British allies. And my understanding is that followed on messaging from the King through back channels, sort of saying, look, actually that's not the case, and nor indeed was it the case. I think the King and Queen can definitely speak in private, but they're not here to sort of pick holes in President Trump's policies. I mean, that's just simply not the role of a monarch, and it's certainly not the purpose of a state visit. This will be all about looking back on all those sort of shared endeavours between two great allies, and sort of looking forward, possibly trying to sort of not look too closely at the present.
I hope it creates a positive mood. Their state visits of any kind are intended to do that. But it's a moment of reflection on history, on leadership, on a whole range of things that are critical to our public life.
your Congress and our Parliament are the twin pillars of our civilizations and the chief among the many treasures that we have inherited from our predecessors.
The American people are proud to welcome Your Majesty back to the United States, a nation you've come to know very well. After all, you've dined with 10 U.S. presidents. You helped our nation celebrate its bicentennial in 1976. She gave me a look that only a mother could give a child.
Good afternoon, man. How are you doing? Hi. That's for you, man. How you
Secret Service.